Hey guys, it's Kelly from KellTrac. I'm over here today at Lethal Performance. I've got a new product I want to go over. I'm really excited about this. The industry seems excited about it. I want to tell you a little about this product and how it can benefit you and your S550 Mustang. Since 2014, I've been working with S550 Mustangs. One of the things that I've always wanted for my customer is to be able to sell them an affordable product that replaces the front strut without the need to go to a double adjustable coilover setup. The reason is because A, the coilover setups tend to be pretty expensive. B, it's a lot of involved, it's an involved process. It's a lot of products. Sometimes the NVH gets increased a little bit. There are some struts out there that are adjustable, but they're just too stiff. They don't offer a wide range of adjustment, and that's where I come in. I specialize in setting, street strip cars up, drag race cars. In this product, you're going to be able to replace the stock strut with a single adjustable model that's got my specific valving. It's my design. It's got a little bit more stroke. I'll go into that later about the tech specs and how it can help you specifically. But for this, I've been having customers for years ask, is there any way that I could get a better front strut on the car without going to a full coilover setup? A lot of those customers had the older Mustangs where some of the coilover systems weren't designed quite properly for comfort. They were all about drag racing. And my customer base with a brand new S550 Mustang, a lot of times they're not really looking to go all out with a coilover setup with caster camber plates and remove all of the bushing and the isolation and the noise isolation on the front end. So on the 2015 to 2022 Mustang GT currently, or any vehicle without MagnaRide, this replaces the stock strut directly. The factory isolator plugs right in. You have a bump stop protector here. The spring goes on. You can use your factory strut mount, or you can use an aftermarket caster camber plate. Anything on the market right now from any brand goes right in. In some cases, you won't even need an alignment because the factory spline bolts on the S550s keep everything pretty secure. The factory strut mounts put everything back in the same place. So in most cases, you can just, within 2 hours, you can pop your stock off, pop this on, and then you can go down the road. You can go to the drag strip. When you purchase these, you'll get support from KellTrac. We do have our specific alignment settings that do work better for this, and we've also got settings for all occasions, drag strip, ride comfort, etc. All right, I'm going to get into some tech here. Again, the purpose of this is to replace your stock strut on your S550 Mustang. The reason that you would want to put this on is for occasional drag strip use or no prep racing. They work very well in a no prep environment. But they can also be comfortable on the street. I've already got a bunch on cars, and feedback's been really good with ride comfort, the ability to adjust it. But I'm going to go into a few things. So when you get your strut, you're going to open it up, and you're going to have an adjuster that you're not going to want to lose this. I send one with each strut. That way you have one, you can put in your garage, and then you have one you can keep in your console. This adjuster is going to have a plus or a minus. It's really, really, really simple. These are not like your traditional adjustable struts and shocks for drag racing. Usually a strut and shock is lefty loosey, righty tighty, okay? So that means that when you receive the strut, for example, this is going to be full clockwise, which is full loose. Most on the market are the opposite. So these are going to come out of the box full loose, which is going to be full clockwise. It will say this on here. So when you do go to adjust them, make sure that the plus and the minus is up. And then once you put this on, it fits over the top. And then you're going to have, approximately 2.5 turns. So right now it's full loose. Then you can turn this knob What I suggest doing is marking one side here so you can count the turns, and then you're basically going to go counterclockwise, and then that's going to be full stiff when you get there. When I do my support on these, when people are racing and they're asking me about the settings, what I tell them is if you're on a bad surface, then you're really going to stay in the full loose to about a half a turn range. If you're on an average drag strip with average prep, you're going to be about a turn to a turn and a quarter, a full turn to a turn and a quarter from the full clockwise position. If you are on a really good track and you make a lot of horsepower and you want to slow the front end down, and I'm going to go here in a minute, I'm going to go into why that's important, then you're going to go probably about 2 to 2.5 turns, which is going to basically just be full counterclockwise. What I also want to talk about is the seal protector. So a lot of people, when they see these on a strut, they don't know what they're for. So all this does, and you want to make sure that you use this, especially with the way that I set cars up. I like to set them up to where the travel is way down here, where you're almost riding on the bump stops. The bump stops are soft, and they can actually squeeze down into this hole here, and there's a seal. And the bump stop will damage that seal. So A, you always want to run bump stops with the strut, period, so you don't damage them. And B, you always want to have this on here to make sure that your bump stop isn't damaging the strut. The strut's also going to come with, it's not a lock nut. There's some good reasons for that. When you install these, you always want to use a spring compressor. First of all, you never want to use an impact wrench on an adjustable strut, ever. It will damage the strut, hands down, there's no question about it. Well, that is one of the reasons why we use this standard style nut, is because a lot of times when you have a strut that has a lock nut on it, people can't get to the top and turn it to try to tighten everything down, so they throw an impact on it to try to drive it down. Well, with this one, you can get it started with your fingers, and then you can hold the top of this with, I believe it's an M11 or M12 combo wrench on the top, and then you're going to basically just turn this with a wrench to tighten this down. And you're going to tighten it down. You can either use 66 foot-pounds, or you can just tighten it down until it collapses this washer, and then just give it a little bit of like 1/8 of a turn more. I'm going to go into real quick the drag racing part of this. The benefit of this strut is the adjustability. On the wider scale, the benefit to this specific brand and my specific design would be that it works for every car. This is going to work on a 10-second naturally aspirated car with a bias ply tire. It will work on an 11-second naturally aspirated car with a drag radial, but it'll also work on a 7-second car on a drag radial or any other tire. And the reason is because the extension valve on this is very different than what is on your traditional strut. It has a very linear curve on the extension, so there's no drastic transition between the fast speed when you launch and then the slow speed once it gets up. Not only that, but my strut supplier was able to make the valving to where it can handle 1,500 horsepower or it can handle 400. So that's the benefit to this design specifically, because most designs out there are designed very, very specifically to like a stock car. Or very specifically designed to improve handling or turn in or corner exit on a road course. This has nothing to do with a road course. It's all about weight transfer and applying the traction at the back with the weight transfer and the physical weight of the car. All right, so you got your new struts on your car, you're ready to go race, you got your KellTrac spec alignment in the car, you got your sheet, or you watch this video. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and give you this stuff right now, raw, here it is. You go to the track, it's a nice overcast day, track temp's 100 degrees, all right? It's a good track day. You start off instantly, you're not gonna start at full loose if you know that the track is gonna hook that day, okay? You're gonna start off roughly 50%. So again, these have about 2.5 to 2 3/4 of turns, just depends on the manufacturing. That very first pass, I like to see people start with, basically you're going to put your adjuster on here. It comes full clockwise, which is full loose. You're basically going to turn that thing about a turn and a quarter. You're going to make your first pass there. So now I'm going to go over the adjustments. If you line the car up, you stage and you launch, and the car instantly spins the tires. I'm talking not it gets out and then it unloads or wheel hops or whatever, but it instantly spins the tires. At that point, there's no other option than to go back to full loose, because then you really need that instant weight transfer to help plant the tire. I'm also assuming that you're not adjusting your rear shocks. I'm just talking about the front strut. If the car hooks and it does better than you expected, then the very next pass, at that point, I tell people, you know, just make a big change. Go all the way full tight. The way that drag racing works is the stiffer the car and the less movement, but the smoother the movement, then the quicker that the car's going to go down the track. Okay, if you're wasting energy with the car, you know, jumping all over the place, okay, you may be able to get the car to achieve traction, but you're going to lose momentum. You're going to lose forward momentum, so it's going to cause your ET to suffer. So with this part, again, on an average track, you're going to start about in the middle. If it hooks really good, go ahead and go to full stiff, full counterclockwise, send it, see what happens. If it doesn't hook when you do that, or if it doesn't achieve traction, then you can start backing it off a quarter to a half a turn at a time, and then you just end up back where you were in that middle zone. So let's talk about street race or no prep. That is a huge, huge customer base of mine. I work with guys all the time on really bad surfaces, and that's honestly one of the reasons I came up with this, because some of the stuff that I've been doing with those guys, some of it can be a little too stiff. You go out at 2 a.m., the dew has set in, you're trying to keep the surface warm, your cash days racing or whatever you're doing. 9 times out of 10, the very first pass you're going to make is going to be full loose, full clockwise. You're probably never, ever, ever, ever going to go past a half a turn. You're not even going to see a half a turn on a surface like that. And the reason is because you want to rely on the physical weight of the car always on an independent rear suspension S550. There's no such thing as making the rear suspension plant the tire. That's radial car drag racing on solid axle cars that have like separation in the rear suspension with lower control arm brackets. These cars, you can't adjust the geometry, so you have to embrace the squat. Think of it like this. Basically think of it like you're on a surface that's not a prepped drag strip. You need that front end to come up as much as you can. However, you also need it to stay up. You don't want the car to bounce. Assuming that you're not adjusting your rear shocks. In this scenario, the compression valving on this strut specifically is designed to hold that car up. That was actually one of our complications, was making the low speed force on this compression valve strong enough to, with little momentum, hold the front of that car up. So that's what you're going to do on a no prep surface. You're going to pretty much be all the way full loose to maybe 25% to 50% settings at the stiffest. Everything else in that is going to be in the tuning, it's going to be in the tire, it's going to be in the surface temperature. And we could maybe do another video at a later time to talk about the tuning aspect of it, but if you set this to full loose and you're on a bad surface and the car doesn't achieve traction, then of course, you may want to pull some timing and some other stuff. So just want to go over that with you guys. It's pretty straightforward. If it's a bad surface, you're going to be more clockwise, you're going to be more towards full loose. If it's a really, really glued track, let's say you don't want to ride the bumper and you've been having wheelie problems, then you're going to go all the way counterclockwise to full tight, and you're going to try to slow that front down so you can plant the rear tires through the 60-foot and not go back on the back bumper. Also wanted to go over something that I get asked a lot, is the sway bars on these cars. So I could have cut some cost, made it a little lighter, but I chose to retain the sway bar mounts on these. A lot of people ask why. Sway bars and drag racing on the S550, regardless of what you read online, they're not that important. Removing them doesn't really help. Putting them on doesn't really help. Keeping them on, upgrading to stiffer ones, it doesn't really help. But that being said, on the S550, if you remove the sway bar, you're really only doing it for weight reduction. That's pretty much it. The beauty of this is these perform so well on a drag strip or on the street. It's kind of cool if you think about it, to have your sway bars on the car. Traditionally, you take them off, right? So, I gotta go drag race, I need the weight transfer. And I'm gonna explain real quick why people used to tell you to remove the sway bar. So the reason is because The solid axle cars actually plant the power to the driver's side tire first on the rear. So the torque comes through the engine this way, moves the torque to the driver's side tire, plants the tire, which then lifts the car. So when you take the sway bar off of like an older car, what does it do? Well, it makes the car body roll even more. So that's why when you see a Fox body Mustang or an S197 Mustang or whatever on slicks launching at a higher RPM, and if it doesn't have a really stiff anti-roll bar in the rear, then it body rolls real bad. So then people say, oh, well, now I need an anti-roll bar, but it's my street car, and I don't want a big stiff anti-roll bar that's clunking all over the place. Well, the first mistake they made was removing the sway bar because some company said, oh, you're going to get great traction because of weight transfer. It's not transferring the weight, it's making the car body roll. So I wanted to throw that out there because I'm sure nobody watching this has ever been told that. But that's really, it's not really transferring weight because you disconnected the sway bar. It's body rolling because you disconnected the sway bar. And that's a bad thing because it's taking the weight away from the tire that needs the weight, which is the driving tire, lifting the car up. So now that you know that, on the S550s, if you take the sway bars off, because that driver's side rear tire gets hit harder, the car actually body rolls the other way. So the passenger side tire actually comes up a little higher. But it's very minimal. On the very fastest car I've ever seen race without sway bars on an S550, maybe a ½ inch of body roll. Nothing like the older cars that lean. So the reason I'm telling you this is because if you really don't care about saving 12.3 pounds, you know, keep the front sway bar on. The car's going to drive nice. It's going to corner nice. If you set this in the middle zone, these things actually, you could go road course on these struts. They're not designed for it. They're designed for drag racing. But a car with the stock sway bars, with this in the front and a set of adjustable shocks in the rear from any company is going to make for a great riding street car, a car that can handle, and a car that can race at a drag strip or on a no prep. Thanks for watching, guys. For more information about the KellTrac product line, we do have a website, www.kelltrac.com. You can also order these parts from lethalperformance.com. We've got our struts, we've got our IRS bushing lockout kits, we've got some double adjustable shock offerings, strut offerings, and various things that can help you achieve better traction with your Mustangs. We don't just do S550 Mustangs, we work with all makes and models actually, but we specialize in S197 and S550 Mustangs. We're actually considering coming out with these same struts for the S197 Mustang and then also some GM and some Mopar products. So again, thank you for watching, and also to grab these struts, Lethal Performance now has them in stock on their website. Take it easy.